Alright, so this is going over some exponent rules. So if you flip it open, the first part here is to multiply numbers. So if you look, whenever you're multiplying numbers, you add the exponents. So these little things up here, you add them together. So a couple examples we're going to go through. We have 2 to the third times 2 squared. So our base here, the same number, is going to be 2. And then what you do is you just add these exponents up here. So we have 3 plus 2. 3 plus 2 will give us 5. For the next one, again, we still have the same base here, which is the big number or letter, and that's going to be b. And then the numbers up here, when you multiply, you add those. So 2 plus 5 will give us 7. Okay, this one's a little bit different because we have two separate things. First, we have this 5 and the 9. Those are big numbers. We just multiply them. 5 times 9 gives us 45. And then again, we're looking at our base here of x. And when you multiply, you add these exponents. So 2 plus 3. So this will give us 45x to the 5th power. Okay, here we have two separate, what I like to call bases, and I go in alphabetical order. So the first one here is b. So we'll have b, and then you add the exponents. So that's 3 plus 2. And then we have the next base, which is this c. Let me just do a different color. We have c here, and then again we add the exponents, so that's going to be 2 plus 9. So our final answer is b. 3 plus 2 is 5, 2 plus 9 is 11. Right, and then the last one again, we have negative 4 times 3, so that will give me negative 12. And then I have x squared, and I have y cubed, because see here, these things, the bases here are different. So I have an x and I have a y. I can't do anything to that, so those two are going to just be the same. Okay, next little section is division. When you divide, you subtract the exponents here. So that's what we're going to do. Here we go. First one, I have the same base here, which is 3. So we have 3, my exponents are 10 minus 5. So we have 3, 10 minus 5 is 5. So 3 to the 5th power. Okay, this next one we have some separate stuff. We have 12 divided by 6. So I'm going to leave 12 divided by 6. And then we have this x to the 7th and x to the 6th. So I'm going to write x. And when we divide, we subtract. So 7 minus 6. And then the last thing we have here is the y's. So I have y, 8 minus 3. So 12 divided by 6 is 2. 7 minus 6 is 1. We don't ever write the 1. And then 8 minus 3 is 5. Alright, so same type of thing here. First thing I have 2 over 3, so I'm just going to leave that as 2 over 3. Then the next thing I have here is just an a cubed, so I'm going to leave it as a cubed. And then the last thing that we have here is the b's, so I'm going to leave it as b. Since you're dividing, we subtract 5 minus 2. So the only thing I can reduce here is the 5 minus 2, so a cubed b, 5 minus 2 is 3. And that's it for division. Next is when you have a power to a power. So when you have a power to a power, you multiply. So that's what we're doing right here. So for this one, the first one, you have d, power to power, you multiply. So 5 times 3. So you have d, 5 times 3 is 15. This next one, we distribute this to everything inside. So you have negative 3 to the 3rd power. You have x, power to power, you multiply. So 2 times 3. And we have y, power to power, you multiply. So 4 times 3. Negative 3 to the 3rd power is, let's see, negative 3 times negative 3 is a positive 9. 9 times negative 3, that's negative 27. 2 times 3 is 6. 4 times 3 is 12. So there's the first, that's the answer. Okay, so again here, you distribute the 3 to everything inside. So we have 2 to the 3rd power. We have a, 3 times 3. B, 5 times 3. And in the denominator, we have 3 to the 3rd power. And we have b, 2 times 3. So when we multiply this out, 2 to the 3rd power, 2 times 2 times 2 will give me 8. A, 3 times 3 is 9. B, 5 times 3 is 15. On the bottom, 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. And then we have b, 2 times 3 is 6. And you can actually reduce this because you have division here with the same letter, and so we can subtract those exponents. So we still have 8. We still have 8 to the ninth power, and we still have 27. But for the b, 15 minus 6 will give me 9, so b to the ninth power goes on top. Okay, so here we're going to distribute, which means we have to multiply. So we'll have 2. We'll have 2 times 3 over 2. And so if you put that in the calculator and multiply, that's just 2 to the third power. And you can reduce that even more. Put in the calculator, 2 to the third power will give you 8. Okay, same here. So what we have here, 25 to the power of 1/2. B 4 times a half. And then C 6 times a 1/2. So when we do this, 25 to the power of 1/2, we're just going to leave it as that, 21 to the 1/2. 4 times a half is 2, and 6 times a half is a 3. And that's it for power to the power. We only got 2 boxes left. So now anytime anything's raised to the power of 0, it's 1. So this right here, that's just 1. So you have 1 times b to the third power, so that's just going to give you b to the third power. And then here, all this stuff is to the 0 power, so that's just going to equal to 1. So anytime you have anything to the 0 power, it's just 1. And the last one is negative exponents. So if you have negative exponents, you flip-flop it. So if it's a negative up top, you move it to the bottom. If it's a negative on the bottom, you move it to the top. So I'm going to rewrite this. So we'll have 4b to the 6th power. I'm going to bring that negative up, b squared, over 16 a squared. I'm going to bring that a to the negative third to the bottom. And now we don't have any negative exponents. So now I can go ahead and combine my like terms. So I have 4 over 16 will reduce. 4 over 16 math inner will give you 1/4. And then we can combine the b's up top because it's multiplication. So we add 6 plus 2 to get 8. And on the bottom, 2 plus 3 will give me 5. So the way you'll see this on your test is b to the 8th power over 4a to the 5th power. Okay, so y to the 0, that's just 1. So we have this x to the negative 2 that has to get moved up. So x to the 4th times x to the power of 2. Because when you move it top to bottom, when you move it, it changed the sign. So now we're going to add 4 plus 2, and that will give us 6. Alright, and then the last one, we'll distribute this 5 over 2 to everything inside. So we have 24 to the power of 5 over 2, and that doesn't reduce, so we'll just leave it like that. A 4 times 5 over 2, I can reduce that here in a second. 54 to the power of 5 over 2, I can't do anything there. A squared times 5 over 2, and b to the negative 2 times 5 over 2. Okay, so I need a little space for this one. So again, I can't reduce the 5 over 2 with the 24. Let's see, that will give me 10, and you can put that in the calculator. 4 times 5 over 2 will give you 10. Can't reduce 54, 5 over 2. Those 2's will cancel out to give you 5, and B, again, the 2's will cancel out, but this will give a negative 5. So again, we can't have negative exponents. So there's 2 things I gotta do. 1, I can reduce this. 2 is I got to move this negative 5 up top, because you can't have negative exponents. So my final answer will be 24 to the power of 5 over 2. 10 minus 5 is 5. So remember this right here, this piece, this is a 10 minus 5 to give me a to the 5th power. Then we'll have, I got to move that b up, so that b will go up here, because now it's a positive exponent. And then on the bottom, I just have 54 to the power of 5 over 2. And that is it. So you can watch that as many times as you need to, but now you'll do the Schoology scavenger hunt.